Grandpa, they said you have too much for an old man. Chloe's whisper carries more courage than any toast. They're fixing it tonight. I held her hand, smiled for the camera, and chose to leave before the candles cooled. If you have a moment, come with me to where that smile became a plan. Chloe's hair carried the sugar sweet of vanilla frosting, and there was a little sparkle dust on her cheek that caught the living room light. Her fingers were small and cold around mine, steady in a way a child shouldn't have to be. I bent, met her eyes, and moved my lips as little as possible. You did the right thing. I've got you. She gave me a brave nod and stepped back toward the gift table like any 8-year-old at a party in Clintonville. I straightened into the brightness. Streamers bowed in cheerful arcs from the ceiling. Balloons nudged the plaster with soft taps. Candle smoke still laced the air, a faint sting under all that sugar. Laughter rose in tidy bursts. Friends, neighbors, the easy noise of people who believe the evening belongs to them. Megan floated through it like a director who had cast herself as the lead. Trays appeared in her hands before anyone asked. Her smile was the kind that never quite reached her eyes. She paused near me, adjusting a napkin, reshaping a cheese board, watching without watching. Up close, her perfume was white flowers with a harder edge underneath. From the kitchen, Tyler's voice came a notch too loud.
"Dad's the one who taught me loyalty," he told Ben Carter from the dealership. Ben nodded the way a man nods at a sales pitch he doesn't want to interrupt. On the far couch, Mr. O'Neill took the room in with the patient curiosity of a retired man who has seen every kind of celebration and every kind of mess. I let my gaze move slow, the way you move a level across wet concrete. Megan's glance flicked to Tyler's, a metronome tick. He checked his watch, then remembered not to check his watch. She shifted her weight, smile trimmed by a degree. If I'd been the old man they were rehearsing for, I might have missed it. But a lifetime in construction trains you to listen to foundations. This one had been settling for years. "Grandpa, look!" Chloe held up a beaded bracelet, colors in happy rebellion. I crossed to her. "It's perfect," I said, and meant it. She let me fasten it. The elastic brushed her pulse. I swallowed, found my breath, gave her the smallest lift of my hand, our old park signal for 10 more minutes, and she answered with a tiny nod that said, "I kept our secret." Megan arrived with canopies I hadn't requested. "Frank, you must try these." "Your taste is so refined," sunshine voice, weather eyes. She touched my forearm and felt how steady it was. I gave her the smile she wanted and none of the math behind it. "Big day," I said. "I may sit a spell." I set my glass down on a coaster. It left a thin, wet circle anyway, a ring that would vanish in minutes. Not everything does. I watched the little choreography of a house party unfold. Compliments about the decorations, jokes about how fast kids grow, a chorus of thank yous for nothing in particular. In that polite noise, I sifted for the clicks between them, the tiny locks sliding into place. The phrase, "after everyone leaves," lived behind my ears. Midnight ticked closer by its own slow logic. When the room took a breath, I stood. I felt Chloe's eyes on me and gave her one quick, quiet squeeze at the shoulder as I passed, a promise stored in skin. "Mind if I freshen up?" I said, to no one and everyone, the way a man asks permission he doesn't need. Megan's head turned a fraction. Tyler held his smile, but it went glossy at the edges. Ben lifted his beer in a small salute, not missing a beat. Mr. O'Neill inclined his head as if to say, "Go on then." The hallway waited, lined with family photos in neat frames. In one, my reflection caught on the glass a pleasant grandfather at a pleasant party. Beneath that, faint in the sheen, I saw the other face I would need later, the one that does not blink when a deal slides sideways. I put a tired smile on like a coat and stepped toward the bathroom, toward the quiet. Behind me, the laughter resumed its tidy pattern, as if the house itself had let out its breath. I closed the door softly. The cool porcelain met my palms. Vanilla, flowers, candle smoke. I counted backward in my head, not numbers but choices. Stay and be steered. Leave and take the wheel. Talk now and tip them off. Smile, excuse yourself, begin. I turned the faucet and let the water run for show. Then I straightened my collar, fixed the mask just so, and reached for the knob. I would go back through the living room in 1 minute, say something polite, and peel off toward the front door with that same gentle smile. The hallway was step one. The mask, step 2. The exit, step 3. The plan had already started. The hallway quiet held me like a palm over a candle, lemon polish, laundry soap. The tap was still running for show. Memory did the real work. The phone had rung at 7 that morning when the light in Upper Arlington comes in gentle like it's asking permission. "Dad, can you come a little early today?" Tyler's voice had that tremor I know from years ago when a boy tried to sound older than his choices. "Megan and I want to talk through some family plans, future stuff. We just want to make sure everyone's looked after." Looked after. The words landed soft and heavy at the same time. "I've never missed Chloe's birthday," I said. "I'll be there." "Great," he said, too fast. "And, keep an open mind, okay?" The call ended with a well-practiced cheerfulness that left a draft. By 8, I was at Easton Town Center with a coffee cooling in the cup holder. Families moved like small, happy weather systems. I stood in the toy store under bright lights and chose an architecture set because Chloe loves how buildings fit, how edges explain themselves. The clerk said it was a good choice. I believed him because I could already see her small, patient hands clicking the pieces into a shape that made sense. Next, the bike shop. A kid-sized frame, light enough for her to handle, handbrakes that wouldn't fight her, reflectors that would throw back every stray beam on a summer night. I pictured the driveway, the wobble, the laugh, the proud look back to see if I was watching. I always would be. I carried boxes to the car and shut the trunk. That's when I heard, "Frank Whitman out early?" Dolores Green stood with a bookstore bag, hair neat, eyes bright, the way neighbors' eyes get when they know quite a lot and will tell you only enough. "Morning, Dolores." "Getting ready for the big party," she said. "Ran into Tyler and Megan downtown on Tuesday morning. Buckeye Community Bank. Arms full of forms. Looked official, like the kind people sign when they're changing big things." She laughed, kind, quick. "Probably a refinance. You know how it is." "Tuesday. Official. Arms full of forms." "Probably," I said. "Well," she added, "give Chloe a hug from me. 8 is a fine age." "It is," I said, and watched her go. In the flower shop, I ordered white roses for Megan. Courtesy matters even when the ground is moving under you. The florist wrapped them in crisp paper. The stems were damp and honest in my hands. Driving home, I counted the last 3 years without meaning to. The months when "just this once" became "since you helped last time," and that became "we knew you'd understand." Repairs that multiplied, school bills that arrived 2 at a time. The visit when Megan let her eyes wander around my kitchen and told me a maintenance-free community might be better for a man who shouldn't have to worry about a roof. A suggestion is sometimes only a suggestion. Sometimes it's a report from the Scouts. Ellie's photo hangs above my desk, the one where she is wearing the red scarf and daring the Ohio winter to try her. I heard her the way I have learned to hear her without sound, with certainty. Check the footing before you raise the walls. She always said it about houses. It works for people. By noon, the trunk was full and the plan was to be just a grandfather at just a party. I wrapped the gifts at my kitchen table, and when I tied the ribbon, the phone vibrated again. Tyler. "Just a reminder, Dad," he said. "We'll chat a bit before the guests leave. It'll be quick." "All right," I said. "I'll be there on time." On time meant 2 in the afternoon on a quiet street in Clintonville. Streamers in the windows, balloons against the ceiling, Megan's hostess smile waiting at the door, Chloe's joy doing its best. It all looked lovely until an 8-year-old told the truth. In the hallway now, with the faucet running and the mirror fogging slightly, I laid the pieces out in my head. The early call, the looked after phrasing, Dolores and the bank on Tuesday, the roses in my car because manners are not a strategy, but they are a choice, and Chloe's mouth at my ear, steady and brave. I shut off the water. The house breathed. The mask of pleasant fatigue was where I had left it, right within reach. I picked it up and tried it on one more time. Time to step back under the lights and watch them closer one more pass through the room before I chose my exit. I stepped back into the living room and let the noise take me in. I kept the easy smile of a tired grandfather and found a spot near the coffee table. Megan moved through the room in hostess mode. Napkins straightened, glasses refilled, names remembered. Each time she passed Tyler, her hand brushed his sleeve. Each time, his jaw tightened, then reset. Ben Carter called over from the pass-through. "Frank, Tyler says you taught him everything at Price Construction. Steady hand." Check the footing.
Decide slow, move fast, I said. Ben laughed and drifted away. Tyler raised his voice a notch. Dad knows loyalty. We take care of our own. His eyes flicked from me to the hallway and back to Megan. The flick wasn't big. The worry behind it was. Mr. O'Neill stepped closer. Families are strange boats, he said mildly, best when nobody rocks them. Or when someone fixes a leak before anyone notices, I said. He nodded and left it there. Across the room, Chloe helped a smaller kid with ribbon and tape. She gave me a quick check without turning her head. I touched my watch band. She answered with a small nod. 10 minutes. Megan appeared with a plate.
Frank, please, try these. I took one bite, set the rest down. Good. You look a little pale, she said softly. Headache? A bit. I'll sit. She angled away and found Tyler's eyes. A small nod passed between them. Pace adjusted. I sat and let the room level out. Music, low. Voices, friendly. No need to read more than what people gave away for free. Tyler made a slow loop, greeting guests he didn't need to greet. He stopped near me and bent as if to share a joke. Feeling okay, Dad? Party's beautiful, I said. You did well. Thanks. Megan worked hard. We've got a little family thing after folks head out. Won't take long. Of course, I said. I won't keep you. He blinked, unsure why that didn't land. Chloe came by with a paper crown. You forgot this. I set it on my head. We both smiled for show. She skipped back to her friends. Ben shifted to talk interest rates with a man who didn't care. Mr. O'Neill asked a freckled girl about cupcakes. Small, normal pieces clicked into place. The off-center piece stayed where it was. Megan circled again. Her perfume arrived before she did. Can I get you tea? Water? I'm fine, I said. Just a minute to rest. She checked Tyler. He checked the time. The pattern was clear. Keep me in the room, keep me comfortable, wait for the moment. I stood. The movement registered in the few who were tracking me. Tyler's hand found a chair back. Knuckles paled. Megan took 3 small steps without looking like she had moved. I think I'll get a bit of fresh air, I said to the room, casual as weather. A phone buzzed in Megan's clutch. She didn't open it. Her eyes cut to the bag and back to me. The smile went a degree too bright. I lifted the paper crown, set it beside the untouched squares on the table, and kept the mild smile on my face. Then Tyler looked to Megan, and Megan gave him the smallest cue, go, now. That look was enough. Decision set. I would leave early, on my feet, on my terms. I think I'll head home, I said, calm as a weather report. This headache isn't getting kinder. The room went careful. Megan reached me in 3 steps. Frank, at least sit. We have coffee, tea. Tyler, get the... I'm fine, I said, half-turned, just tired. Ben Carter lifted his bottle. Get some rest, sir. Mr. O'Neill's brows sheltered his eyes. He saw more than he'd say. Dad, Tyler said, sliding between me and the door, grin tight, remember that quick family thing? Time-sensitive. Tomorrow, I said. I want to be fully present. Megan's smile tightened. It's best if we cover it tonight. People are available. You know how schedules are. Tomorrow, I repeated. I'll come early. We'll have the house to ourselves. For a breath, they forgot to perform. Tyler's jaw worked. Megan's knuckles whitened. Then the smiles returned. Chloe appeared beside me, holding a beaded bracelet. Do you want this? You keep it, I said, fastening it around her wrist. It suits you. I kissed her head. Everything will be all right, I whispered. Her fingers squeezed mine. Okay, she breathed. I crossed the room like a man leaving early because he's old and allowed. Thank you, I told the guests. Lovely party. Ben winked. Mr. O'Neill tipped his cup. At the threshold, Tyler's hand landed on my shoulder heavier than needed. Just an hour, please. I saw a fear that wasn't only greed. Another time, I said, get Chloe to bed on time. Megan stood aside, phone in hand. Frank, we want to help, that's all. I know, I said, stepping onto the porch. Evening air lifted a streamer. The Ohio sky held a soft blue that never admits night. My Mercedes waited at the curb. I walked the short path, feeling the grit underfoot. Behind me, voices blended into party sounds.
Chloe's lighter tone, then Megan's, then Tyler's. At my car, I paused with my hand on the roof, hearing Ellie's voice in memory. Check the footing, decide slow, move fast. The front door stayed open. In the light, Megan spoke to Tyler, face bright for the neighbors, hard for me. The paper crown I'd left sat on the coffee table, tilted just enough to be honest. I slid into the seat, leather welcoming. My hand on the wheel felt right. Chloe, flanked by her parents, lifted her hand slightly. Not our park signal, something older. I nodded, a promise kept. I closed the door with a certain click, turned the key, and watched the house shrink, already measuring the distance to my desk, the portrait, and the safe behind it. The drive to Upper Arlington took the length of one steady breath. The sun had slipped to a soft Ohio blue, the kind Ellie liked to call the hour that forgives. My house greeted me the way old houses do, by remembering me. The front door eased shut without protest. The hallway kept the days cool. Somewhere, a clock counted a calm that didn't belong to evenings like this. I did not turn on every light, just the lamp in the office. The brass one Ellie found at a flea market and polished until it believed in itself again. Her portrait watched from above the desk. The red scarf, the daring smile, the eyes that never once rushed me. Check the footing, she used to say, half a joke, half a rule. I set my palm against the frame and let my fingerprints warm the wood. Behind it, the safe. The dial turned under my fingers to the rhythm I have always kept for her, a familiar little dance of month and memory. Steel gave with a low, respectful sigh. Paper waited in the dark the way truth does. Quiet, patient, unconcerned with how anyone will feel about it. I pulled the first manila folder and then another. Bank statements, canceled checks, receipts with corners gone soft. Envelopes with neat notes in my handwriting, mortgage, transmission, tuition, groceries. I laid them in rows until the desk became a map. When you have built things for a living, you know how to read grain and weight. Paper has a weight, so does repetition. 2 piles became 4, and the timeline drew itself. In the first months after Ellie, small needs spoke softly, just this once. Then the voice learned to carry. The requests grew. Repairs reproduced like rabbits. School needs arrived in 2s. Words shifted too. 2, help turned into expectation. Expectation tried on entitlement and admired how it looked. I opened the ledger notebook I keep for the kind of accounting you don't show a CPA what it costs a man to be who he thinks he is. I wrote the numbers in words, the way story asks you to. 247 transactions across 3 years. About $70,000 moved from me to the life they said they could not reach without me. I added the other column, the one they never asked about because they never knew. Liquid assets just over $2.3 million. 3 rental properties that pay their own way. This house, bought and paid for, not because a bank loved me, but because Ellie and I learned how to love a budget. The shape of my life on paper was not a boast, it was a boundary. I took a breath and listened to the room. Outside, a car passed and left a ribbon of sound behind it. Inside, pages whispered as if they were gossiping about me. I underlined a date the afternoon Megan admired my countertops and proposed a maintenance-free future for a man like me. A suggestion is sometimes reconnaissance. I wrote that down too. I circled phrases from old messages and folded them into a list on a yellow legal pad. Just until, emergency, we'll pay you back when, Chloe's school. My pen did not run out of ink. I did not run out of patience, but I let patience know it would not be making any more of the decisions. Ellie's gaze in the portrait had that mischief I always loved. Decide slow, she would tease, but when you do, move like you mean it. I wrote 3 names on the pad, each with its own arrow. Jason Patel at Buckeye Community Bank, an old friend who knows what questions mean, even when they sound innocent. Karen Schultz, the notary who has watched my signature for years and knows the difference between a steady hand and a pressured one. And if I needed another voice, compliance at the bank. Not to hurt anyone, to make the lines bright enough that nobody could pretend they were faint. I sorted the evidence back into stacks, the way you stack lumber you plan to use, not burn. The ledger went back to the edge of the desk. The safe door stayed open, a mouth waiting for my next instruction. My phone lit the room with a square of weak light. Tyler's name glowed there, brave as a boy at the edge of a cold pool. I let it ring. Then ring again.
The sound walked itself into silence and left me with the lamp, the paper, Ellie's eyes, and the plan that had started growing the moment Chloe breathed the truth into my ear. The house exhaled. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked once and thought better of it. I picked up the pen and underlined tomorrow. When the phone lit again, I turned it face down and reached instead for my address book, the page where Jason's number waits like a well-kept tool. Sunday morning came in quiet layers. Light through the blinds, coffee steam lifting straight up. The lamp on my desk made a warm island in a room of paper and metal. Ellie's eyes, framed above the safe, held me to the plan. At 9 on the dot, I dialed Jason Patel's personal number. 20 years of doing things the right way earns you a number or two that matters. "Jason," I said when he answered, "it's Frank Whitman. Sorry to intrude on a Sunday." "Frank," he said, voice warm and rested, "you never intrude. What can I do for you?" "I've been looking over my portfolio," I said, keeping it easy, thinking about simplifying, centralizing accounts, trimming the noise. I could use a steady opinion. "Happy to help," he said. "We can talk allocation, account structure, whatever you need." "I appreciate it," I said, and let a beat pass. "While we're at it, I've also been wondering about support arrangements for when folks need a hand. Powers of attorney, conservatorships. The practical side, not the drama. I like to understand terms before I ever need them." Jason's tone tilted into professional careful. "Those are important tools," he said. "They come with responsibility. In general, a power of attorney allows someone you choose to act on your behalf. Conservatorship is a court process when someone is no longer able to manage on their own. Different paths, different paperwork." "Makes sense," I said. "Have you dealt with any of that recently? I don't need names, just trying to get a feel for what families run into." He respected the fence. "We've had inquiries," he said. "Some folks ask simple planning questions. Others arrive with very specific checklists. Competency evaluations, expedited filings. It varies." "Expedited," I repeated, as if tasting a word for the first time. "That sounds urgent." "It usually is," he said. "Courts can move faster when there's a clear, immediate risk. But we encourage families to consult counsel and proceed carefully. Conservatorship removes a lot of autonomy. It's not casual." I let a breath out. "That's good to hear. If I ever set up anything formal, I'll want it clean. Consent, witnesses, no shadows." "That's the way to do it," Jason said. "Transparency protects everyone." I could almost see his face, the neat part in his hair, the way he listens without blinking. "Jason," I said, "thank you. Maybe we schedule a review this week. I'll bring statements, you bring that calm you charge for." He laughed. "Deal. Monday late morning?" "Perfect," I said. "And one more thing. If I have a notary present for some personal documents, is there any best practice I should mind?" "Make sure no one is under pressure," he said. "Notary will check ID, witness a willing signature, and keep a journal. If a notary suspects coercion, they decline. That's the safeguard." "That's the word I was looking for," I said. "Safeguard." We said our goodbyes. I set the phone down where the brass lamp made a small halo around it. The room felt steadier for having facts instead of guesses. It didn't last long. The screen lit again. Tyler. I let it buzz twice, then answered with a little rasp I'd practiced in the mirror. "Son?" "Dad," he said, relief rushing the word. "How are you feeling? You left early last night. Megan and I were worried." "Oh," I said, letting my voice drift a little. "I've had these headaches. Hard to keep things straight. I didn't want to be, what's the word, rude." "You weren't rude," he said quickly. "Maybe we should take you to urgent care, just to be safe." "That's thoughtful," I said. "Everything seems complicated lately. Bills, appointments, forms." I let the last words sit between us like a plate I might drop. There was a tiny silence, the kind you can see if you've learned where to look. "Dad," he said, softening his tone, "we can help with that. We actually have some papers ready that would make things easier. No pressure, just support." "Papers?" I repeated, as if trying the sound. "Would that mean I don't have to worry so much?" "Exactly," he said. "It just lets us handle the boring stuff so you can rest." "That sounds nice," I said. "But my head is foggy. I wouldn't want to sign anything wrong." "We can come over," he said. "We'll explain. If it doesn't feel right, we won't do it today." "That would be kind," I said. "Come by in an hour. I'll make coffee. I might need to lie down midway." "An hour," he said, too fast. "We'll bring everything." When we hung up, the house seemed to nod. The lamp hummed. Ellie's red scarf in the portrait caught a touch of sun and looked exactly like Resolve. I set out 3 cups on the coffee table, mine, and 2 for people who prefer their help official. Beside them, I placed a clean pad of paper and a pen that writes on the first touch. Not for signatures, for notes. Then I walked to the hall mirror and practiced the slower version of myself. A small wrinkle at the brow, a hand that takes an extra second to find a pocket. The kind of confusion that invites care and witnesses. When their car turned onto my street, I straightened the cups by a fraction and left the front door unlocked, the better to welcome a leather portfolio into my living room. They came in on a draft of spring air, Megan first, leather portfolio tucked like a diploma under her arm. Tyler followed with a careful smile and the habit of rubbing the back of his neck when he thinks too hard. "I made coffee," I said, pointing to the cups. "Help yourselves." "Thank you," Frank said, voice smooth, eyes scanning the room the way a person checks a stage before a scene. She set the portfolio on the coffee table and opened it with both hands, reverent as a hymn. Inside, the papers were clipped in neat stacks, edges square, yellow flags blooming along the margins, sign here, initial here, date. "These are just to make things easier," she said, laying 3 sheets out and turning them toward me. "A general power of attorney financial, so we can help with banking, bills, all the boring parts. This one is medical, in case you're ever too tired to make a decision. Nothing dramatic, just a backup system." "Backup," I repeated, touching the corner of a page as if testing fabric. The paper was heavy, the kind you buy to feel official. "What does this one do again?" I pointed at a block of text dense as drywall. "It allows us to act on your behalf," she said, "with the patience people use for a child learning a board game. Only when needed. We'd never do anything without telling you." Her smile was soft focus. Her perfume, white flowers and a bite of something sharper, settled into the room. Tyler set a cup near my hand. "Dad, it's just so you don't have to fuss with forms. We'll handle things and keep you in the loop." I picked up the first sheet. The words were familiar from a lifetime of reading contracts. Authority, access, transfer, manage, convey. The yellow flags winked. Across the top margin, a highlighter line glowed as if the sentence itself were raising a hand. Full power to endorse, deposit, withdraw? "I used to understand these better," I said, rubbing my temple like a man trying to pull a thought into focus. "It's been hard to keep things straight." I let the sentence trail, let the air carry it for me. "That's exactly why we're here," Megan said, tapping the pen against her thumb with a rhythm you could set a metronome by. "This doesn't change ownership, it just lets us help. We're family." I nodded as if that solved something. "If I sign, do I still decide where my money goes?" "Of course," she said instantly. "We'll just execute your wishes more efficiently." The pen stilled. "Frank, it would really give us peace of mind to have this in place right away." Tyler shifted, the couch cushions sighing under him. "We can always revoke it, Dad, if you don't like it." I lifted a page and watched the light slide across it. "Do these need witnesses?" "Notary," Megan said quickly. "I actually know someone at the UPS store who—" "No rush," Tyler cut in, too fast, then glanced at her. "I mean, we can find a notary anytime." "We could sign today," she said, smoothing the paper flat. "Have it notarized tomorrow. The important part is your signature." I set the sheet down and let my hand miss the edge of the table by an inch before finding it again. "My head isn't up to speed today," I said, keeping my eyes on the yellow flags so she could see how close I was to the yes she needed. "I don't want to sign the wrong line." Or the right one for the wrong reason. "Frank," Megan said, softer now, leaning in like a nurse with a warm blanket, "what reason could be wrong about family taking care of family?" "None I can think of," I answered, and gave her the smile that belongs on a greeting card. "Still, I'd like to sleep on it.
If I read these tonight, slowly, tomorrow I'll be clear. We could do it first thing. 10, perhaps, with a notary here so everything is proper." Tyler exhaled, relief and nerves mixing in one breath. "That works," he said. "We'll come back in the morning." Megan hesitated. I watched her eyes measure the room again, the cups, the lamp, my steady hand. The pen tapped once, then stopped. "All right," she said finally, arranging the pages into a squared stack again. She slid them back out a moment later. "Why don't we leave these with you? You can read. We'll bring a notary tomorrow. Make it official." "Good," I said. "I read slowly these days." I touched the yellow tabs again. "I'll mark my questions." She placed the pen on top of the stack, the way you set a crown on a head you expect to bow. "We'll see you at 10. I walked them to the door. Tyler hugged me, his hand a little too tight on my shoulder. "Thanks, Dad," he said into the fabric of my sweater. "This will help." "I'm sure it will," I said. Megan offered both my hands a polite squeeze. Up close, her smile had edges. "Rest," she said. "Keep the papers safe." "I have a good place," I said, and watched them cross the porch and step back into the soft Sunday. The house took them back out of itself and settled. The portfolio did not go with them. The papers sat on my table, all that yellow waiting like traffic lights. I stood for a long moment in the doorway, then closed it gently until the latch caught. I carried the stack to my desk and, before I sat down, reached for my address book, the page where Karen Schultz's number sits like a clean rule in a messy world. The papers on my desk were yellow-flagged invitations I didn't plan to accept. I touched the top sheet, felt the heavy stock, and set it down. The address book with the cracked spine waited where it always does. I found Karen Schultz's number under S. The brass lamp poured a steady circle over the page. She answered on the second ring. "Karen speaking?" "Karen, this is Frank Whitman. I'm sorry to bother you on a Sunday." "You're not bothering me, Mr. Whitman. What do you need?" "A notary at my home in Upper Arlington tomorrow morning. Personal documents. I want it proper IDs checked, journal signed, no one hurried." "That's how I work," she said. "What time?" 9:45 to set up, signing at 10. "I'll bring my seal, my journal, and a pen that never skips," she said. "Do you expect anyone to be persuasive?" "Possibly. If you sense pressure, decline. I would rather have no signature than a bad one." "Understood. Text me the address. I'll be there at 9:45. I drew a small square beside her name on my legal pad, Ellie's mark, for things that mattered. Then I tapped Jason Patel's number. He answered on the first ring. "Frank, still thinking portfolio?" "And definitions," I said. "Could you stop by at 10? Call it a review. I'd value your eyes on a few terms." 10 works, he said. "Suit or truth?" "Bring both. Also, can we reach compliance if procedure comes up? Angela Lee runs that desk, yes?" "I can have Angela on standby," he said, "or we can ring the main line and ask for her. Standby is best, no surprises." I circled his name and drew an arrow to the word compliance. The house held still, the way a good form holds concrete. One call left. I found Tyler and hit dial. "Dad," he said, breath half relief, "how are you feeling?" "Better," I said, letting a little fog in. "I slept, I read a bit. Those papers are a lot." "They are. We can walk you through them, no rush." "Let's do it tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I've asked a notary to come so it's done right. If I need help, I want it legal and witnessed." A short pause. "A notary? Sure, that's fine. We'll be there." "Good. I like when important things leave a trail." I wrote the times in a clean column. 9:45, Karen. 10, Jason. 10:05, Tyler and Megan. Beside the list, I printed one word and circled it twice. Witnesses. I slid the flagged forms into a fresh manila folder and wrote today's date across the tab. Into another, blank, I tucked an envelope I hoped not to need. On the coffee table, 3 cups sat upside down. I set them upright, laid out napkins, and pictured the room at 10. Karen by the side table with her journal open, Jason angled to see faces and pages, the sofa for family, a clear strip of carpet between us where the truth could cross without tripping. Outside, a car hissed by on damp pavement. Inside, the lamp hummed and the air settled around the plan like a glove around a hand. I picked up my pen and boxed 4 words I have trusted on job sites and in courtrooms. Decide slow, move fast. The phone buzzed again. Megan's name glowed and pulsed. I let it vibrate into the quiet, turned the phone face down, and darkened the circle around witnesses. I set the lamp low and listened to the house breathe. The room was set. All that remained was morning.
Monday light slid in flat and honest. I raised the blinds a hand's width and let Ohio gray settle across the coffee table. 3 cups stood ready. The brass lamp drew a warm circle over 2 manila folders, yellow-flagged forms in one, my papers in the other. I opened the windows a crack so the room could breathe. On the side table, I cleared space for a notary's journal and seal. The wall clock ticked each second into place like nails set to depth. Coffee hissed in the kitchen. I carried a carafe back and left it within reach. No sugar, no distractions. On my legal pad, last night's box still read, "Decide slow, move fast." At 9:41, a mower coughed to life 2 doors down. At 9:44, I straightened the cups by a fraction. At 9:45 on the mark, the bell sang 2 clear notes. Karen Schultz stood in a navy jacket and flat shoes, a compact case in her hand and the practiced calm of someone who records the truth for a living. "Good morning, Mr. Whitman." "Morning, Karen." "Thank you, Karen." She set her case on the side table, opened it with small ceremony. Seal, journal, 2 pens. She checked my license, held it to the light, and wrote my name into a neat line that would outlast the day. "I work slowly," she said, both reminder and promise. "I only notarize willing signatures. If I sense pressure, I stop." "That's why you're here," I said. "If anything feels off, touch the corner of your journal. We'll pause." Her mouth tipped in approval. She took in the room the way good tradespeople do, chair angles, exits, the distance between voices, and let the silence settle back into its proper place. At 9:59, a shadow crossed my walk. A precise knock followed. Jason Patel wore a charcoal suit and a practical coat against the thin morning. His handshake had nothing to sell in it. I gestured to the chair, angled to see faces and paper at the same time. "Portfolio review," he said lightly, taking his seat. "And a few definitions," I said. "Compliance on standby?" "Angela knows I might ring," he said. "If needed, we'll keep it to principles." His eyes rested on the yellow-tabbed folder acknowledgement, not intrusion, then on Karen's open journal. He gave the smallest nod that meant, "I see the safeguards." I poured coffee. He took half a cup and did not drink it. Karen declined with a smile, pen laid straight along her journal spine. Tires rolled slow over curb grit. A car door shut. Another. Footsteps on the walk too quick to be called calm. I did not move. Karen adjusted nothing. Jason set his cup on a coaster and let his fingers leave no sound. The doorbell rang at 10:05, bright and punctual as a nail set flush. I stood, smoothed my collar, and crossed the room at an even pace. When I opened the door, Megan's smile arrived first, bright for show. The instant her eyes found Karen's journal and Jason's suit, it changed by a degree only experience measures. Tyler hovered half a step behind her, rubbing the back of his neck the way a man does when he wants to be anywhere else. "Good morning," I said, as if we were about to discuss nothing more than weather and cake. "Come in." They stepped across the threshold. Megan's perfume, white flowers with a harder edge beneath, met the room's clean coffee and paper. Her gaze touched the cups, the folders, the brass lamp, then landed on the notary seal. Tyler's eyes found the banker and flicked away. "Please," I said, motioning to the sofa. "Let's sit." I returned to my chair, the one that sees both faces and pages, and felt the frame hold. Megan adjusted the hem of her jacket, smile restored to full brightness. "We brought the papers," she said, then hesitated, measuring the witnesses she hadn't planned on. We sat where the room had asked us to sit. Megan took the sofa's edge, portfolio on her knees. Tyler sat beside her, rubbing the seam of his slacks. Karen's journal lay open, pen along its spine. Jason folded his hands, eyes level. "Before we start," I said, "please note the purpose of this visit." Karen looked up. "Stated in your own words, Mr. Whitman." "My family brought documents for me to sign. We're here to ensure clarity and willingness. No pressure." She wrote. The scratch of her pen gave the moment weight. Megan brightened. "Frank, we just want to help." She opened the portfolio and slid 2 sheets toward me, yellow flags blooming. A general financial power of attorney and a medical one, standard. A simple backup so we can handle bills and appointments. I let my eyes clear. Define simple. What powers exactly? I tapped the paragraph. Endorse, deposit, withdraw, transfer, sell. How broad? Under what conditions? Plain language, please. With your consent, she said quickly, it lets us act for you in financial matters. We'd never do anything without telling you. Tyler tried gentle. Dad, it's flexible. You can revoke it. Good, I said. Then there's no reason to rush. I set the mask aside. Also, we should be plain about other terms in the air. Conservatorship, competency, expedited filings. Color drained from Tyler's face, then crept back. Megan's grip tightened on the portfolio. No one is talking about courts, she said. We're talking convenience. We could sign now and notarize later. We will not sign now, I said. We will understand now. Frank, she softened, you left the party early. You said you were struggling to keep things straight. We're taking care of you. Taking care looks like this, I said, nodding at Karen's journal. Witnesses, clarity, time, not a pen hovering over flags. Tyler cleared his throat. We brought these because we're worried. I appreciate worry, I said. I'm also aware of your Tuesday morning at Buckeye Community Bank. Arms full of forms, serious faces. If you are asking me to delegate authority, we'll discuss exactly what you intend to do with it. Silence drew tight. I turned to Jason. For the record, define the difference between a power of attorney and a conservatorship. In general, he said, steady, a power of attorney is voluntary. You choose someone to act for you, and you can revoke it while competent. Conservatorship is court-ordered when a person is found unable to manage. It removes a great deal of autonomy. Courts may move faster in emergencies, but it's never casual. Karen's pen moved. Megan tried a new angle. Our finances are private. They are, I said. That's why Jason will speak only to principals, not people, and why Karen will notarize only a willing signature. I slid the POA stack an inch away and pulled my own folder closer. One more point before we go further, I said. If a bank hears questions about expedited conservatorship for an elder who appears lucid and oriented, what do compliance principles say about urgency and risk generally? Jason nodded, drawing a careful breath. I opened my palm to invite his answer, and the room leaned toward his first word. Jason nodded once, slow and sure. As a principle, he said, expedited conservatorship is for clear and immediate risk assets in danger, a person truly unable to manage, imminent harm. It requires medical opinions, supporting documentation, and a court order. It is not a convenience tool. Karen's pen moved, steady as a resting heartbeat. From a process view, Jason went on, red flags include unusual urgency, a third party coordinating documents, pre-tabbed forms, and pressure to sign. Best practice is independent witnesses, a neutral notary, and time to consider. Megan's smile softened. That's not our situation, Frank. I understand, I said, eyes still on Jason. What does compliance say? Jason set his cup down. We can ask the principal's line. He glanced to me for permission. I nodded. He tapped speaker. Angela Lee, a clear, even voice answered. Angela, Jason said, a principal's question. When a family asks about expedited conservatorship for an older adult who appears lucid, what does compliance recommend? As a rule, Angela said, expedited is an exception, only for urgent, demonstrated danger. The bank remains neutral. We do not judge capacity. We always recommend independent legal counsel and avoiding any hint of coercion. Red flags, urgency without cause, family arriving with a complete packet, instructions to sign quickly, and lack of neutral witnesses. Best practice, notarize in place. Allow the person to read and understand, and if there is doubt, stop. Karen paused her pen for a breath, letting the words land, then wrote them down. Tyler stared at his hands. Megan kept the smile, but calculation showed at the edges. Thank you, Angela, Jason said. We needed general principles. I'll add, Angela said, conservatorship is never for convenience. It is a heavy remedy. The call ended. The room stood square, like a frame checked with a good level. Good, I said, placing a brick where it belonged. I slid their POA stack an inch away from me and pulled my own folder closer to the center. Before we discuss your documents, I said, we're going to review a few of mine. I opened the cover. The first page showed a number written out in bold words, 247, and a column of dates running down the page like a road we were about to walk. I turned the page so they could see the first entries and watched the color change in the room. I rotated the folder so the pages faced them. The first column was dates. The second, memo lines in my handwriting. The third, amounts. Mortgage, transmission, tuition, groceries. At the start, the numbers were small and polite. Just this once. A month later, they learned to speak up. Emergency. By winter, they arrived 2 at a time. Chloe's school. You understand. Across 3 years, I said, tapping the totals, 247 transactions, roughly $70,000. I let the paper do the talking. Help is not the same as control. This is help. Tyler stared at the ledger as if it could blink first. Dad, those were real needs. Some were, I said, and some were rehearsals. I turned a page. The day you admired my countertops and suggested a maintenance-free community for me, that wasn't concern, that was scouting. Megan's smile did not move. The muscles at her jaw did. Frank, we've thanked you for everything. These are ordinary family expenses. Ordinary does not require secrecy at a bank on Tuesday morning, I said, or vocabulary like competency and expedited. I slid the POA stack an inch farther from me. I will not sign these today. Karen's pen paused, then continued, recording the sentence in the same steady hand she'd used for every other fact. Jason set his cup down without drinking. The room stayed level. I flipped to the last sheet, 2 lines written in block letters. This house is paid for. There are liquid assets a little over $2.3 million and 3 rentals that pay their way. You didn't know that because I never asked you to carry it. I looked at Tyler, then Megan. But I will not be carried, either. Megan tried to soften the ground. We only wanted a backup, Frank. You wanted access, I said, even and plain. Here is what we will do instead. I reached for a second folder and placed it in the center of the table. Karen, I have documents of my own, an updated will, and an educational trust for Chloe. You'll notarize those. After that, we can discuss what genuine help looks like. I broke the seal on the manila tab and slid out the first page. The notary's journal waited for the next line. I slid my folder to the center and opened it flat. This is my updated will, I said, tapping the top page, and this, I moved to the next set, is an educational trust for Chloe. Karen angled closer. We'll proceed section by section, she said. You may initial each clause you understand. Plain language, I told the room, no mystery. I read aloud the first paragraph. Grantor, Frank Whitman. Beneficiary, Chloe Whitman. Purpose, education and formation. I glanced at Tyler and Megan. Education means more than classrooms. It means a future she chooses. We moved through the terms. Distributions, tuition, fees, books, housing stipend while enrolled, equipment necessary to study, laptop, instruments, tools, study abroad if it serves the program. Vocational training counts the same as college. If she chooses veterinary school, it qualifies. If she chooses a trade, it qualifies. Jason watched quietly, hands folded, eyes on the lines like a man reading a blueprint. Age, I read. At 21, Chloe may access a seed fund for starting a business or setting up life, released only after she completes a basic financial literacy course. I initialed the margin. That one matters, I said. If you're going to carry money, you should know how to carry it. Trustee, Karen prompted. Initial trustee, me, I said. Successor trustee, Buckeye Community Trust Services upon my death or incapacity. Jason is not a trustee. He is a witness today.
Jason gave a slight nod, neutrally professional. I turned a page. No loans to parents, no distributions directed by parents, no assignments to satisfy anyone else's debts. The money is for Chloe's education and future. Megan's smile held, tight at the corners. Tyler stared at the carpet. Good conduct clause, I read. Parents may not access or direct trust assets. If, over time, they demonstrate sustained responsibility, steady work, budgeting, counseling if needed, the trustee may consider supervised family grants for Chloe's enrichment. That decision belongs to the trustee, not to them. Karen's pen landed where it needed to. She checked my ID once more out of habit, then positioned the journal. Signature lines are here, Mr. Whitman. I signed the will, I signed the trust. Karen notarized each, her seal pressing a firm circle into the page.
Jason witnessed, adding his name in a steady hand. The lamp hummed. The clock ticked. Paper made a sound like a door closing softly. I closed the folder and looked up. I am not punishing a child for adults' choices, I said. I am protecting her path. Chloe's name sat clean on the page between my hands. Ellie's red scarf warmed the room without a word. I set the pen down, folded my palms, and turned to Tyler and Megan. Now, I said, we're going to talk about what changes today. I closed the folder. Here is what changes today, I said. Effective immediately, I will no longer pay your mortgage, repairs, cards, or one-time emergencies. Any support for Chloe will flow through her trust or direct payments to schools and programs, never through you. Karen's pen recorded it. Jason watched it land. Tyler swallowed. Dad, I'm sorry. How do I fix this? Not with speeches, I said, with a plan and proof. 1, I held up a finger. Get and keep steady work full-time or 2 part-time jobs that meet your bills without me. Within 30 days, send 3 pay stubs. 2, another finger. Budget counseling with a licensed advisor. Bring me a written plan. Income, expenses, debt reduction, targets by month. 3, a third finger. Chloe first. No missed tuition or appointments. Show up for her. When a choice appears, choose the option that serves her well-being over convenience or pride. I can do that, he said, eyes wet. I will. Megan's smile thinned. Frank, that isn't realistic. Do you expect us to conjure money overnight? I expect adults to live with what they earn, I said. You will not ask me for cash. If Chloe needs something beyond ordinary support, you will request it from the trustee in writing. The answer may be no. So we're cut off, she said. You are, I said evenly. Chloe is not. The trust exists so her future is not hostage to your choices. If we do all this, Tyler asked, then what? In 12 months, I said, if you meet the marks, steady employment, a clean, working budget, on-time bills, no new debt spirals, I will consider supervised support for Chloe's enrichment. Consider, not promise. Any estate discussion is off the table until then. Megan set her jaw. And if we think that's unfair? You're free to think anything, I said. You're not free to use me as Plan B. I turned to Karen. Please note, any future assistance, if any, will be in kind or via trustee, not cash. Karen wrote. Paper made its small, permanent sound. Tyler looked up. Thank you for not giving up on me. I'm giving you a lane, I said. Whether you drive in it is up to you. Megan exhaled. We'll see. I folded my hands. Words are cheap, I said. Show me. The next 12 months will speak louder than any apology. By late morning, the house was empty. The chairs kept their angles. The lamp hummed. I gathered the signed pages, slid them into a new folder, and returned the yellow-flagged stack to its manila sleeve. Karen's seal impressions cooled on the table like moons. I walked each document to the office, scanned them PDF, labeled and dated them, then locked the originals in the safe behind Ellie's portrait. Steel turned, settled, and held. Outside, the street had its ordinary face. Mr. O'Neill paused at the curb with his recycling bin and lifted 2 fingers in a salute. Dolores crossed with a bookstore bag, offered a small, knowing smile, then let the moment pass. In neighborhoods like ours, people read foundations by sound. They don't need gossip when the frame stands square. Back at the desk, I called my attorney. We reviewed the will and trust titles, then I sent the encrypted files and arranged a courier for the hard copies. Redundant backups, he said. Always, I said. I saved one more copy to a secure drive and slipped it into the fireproof box. The house exhaled. Sun found the brass lamp. My phone lit the room with a blue square. Chloe after school? Chloe arrived just after 3, backpack bumping her knees. I met her on the porch and kept my voice quiet. No big words, no blame. We had some grown-up paperwork this morning, I said, pouring lemonade. It was about keeping your future safe. Her eyes searched my face. Are Mom and Dad mad? They're figuring things out, I said. That's their job. Mine is you. We sat at the kitchen table. I opened a thin stack of brochures, glossy pages, bright animals, green campuses. You told me veterinary school once, I said. Here are 3 good programs. Columbus State has a pre-vet track. Ohio State has a path to the big stuff. There are scholarships. The trust will cover the rest. She traced a picture of a golden retriever with one finger. It's real, she whispered. As real as the roses out back, I said. We carried the lemonade to the garden. Ellie's roses were opening, soft pink, stubborn and brave. I showed Chloe how to pinch a faded bloom to make room for the next. In the shade, we clicked 2 Lego bricks together, just because it felt right to build something simple. You'll help me apply? She asked. Every step, I said. The smile that came wasn't polite. It belonged to her. We sat on the porch while the evening cooled. The roses Ellie planted breathed a thin, sweet line through the air. Chloe leaned against my shoulder, quiet the way children get when they've finally put a worry down. Truth has a temperature. It doesn't shout. It holds steady and makes room. Dignity works the same way. No spectacle, just a person sitting square in their own chair. Love, too, when it's right. Not a net you're tangled in, but a hand you can take and let go of without fear. Down the block, Tyler paused by the corner. He had a folder under his arm and the look of someone counting steps he means to take. He raised a tentative hand. I returned it, not as a pardon, not as a punishment, only a lane. He turned and kept walking. Chloe pointed at a rosebud still furled tight. That one's late, she said. Some promises bloom slow, I said. They still bloom. We listened to the small noises of an ordinary street. A screen door, a bike bell, the soft clink when ice settles in a glass. I told Chloe we'd start her school list this weekend, 1 form at a time. She nodded, content to let tomorrow arrive on its own feet. Being betrayed isn't the end, it's the doorway to freedom. These betrayal stories may shake your trust in everything, but God wants you to learn to trust Him first. When your faith is rooted in the unshakable, you no longer fear loss. Live honestly, love rightly, and let God write the rest of your story. If this story resonated, leave a line in the comments and subscribe. We'll walk a little farther together next time.